Just got back from FPMA Expo in Orlando, and here are some things that just pissed me off.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek podcast. I am your host, Frank Hernandez, and glad to be here. A day late and a dollar short, some would say, but I'm here. Got back from Expo on Sunday night around 2:30, 2:45 in the morning, and slept in all day Monday. Pretty much, I slept in. I was exhausted we went to Orlando for if you don't know what's going on, the Florida Pest Management Association, FPMA, put out an expo in Orlando, which overall was really good. I got some good things, some pros and cons about what happened. I'll let you know about them. I will also talk about some of the things that I found there, some little gems, and also about the speakers and some other things that just honked me off this week. This has been the week to things that honked me off. I don't usually get too aggravated or too ticked off or pissed off about a lot of things. I mean, I'm pretty much a laid-back guy, very easygoing. My wife says I don't get mad about anything, and it takes a lot just to honk me off. But there's some things that just tick me off, and it usually has to do with attitudes. It has nothing to do with what actually happened. I can deal with problems. I can deal with things that happen, but it's usually attitudes of people who do them, and when you confront them about it, they're nonchalant, cavalier, pretty much, yeah, we're going to do something about that, and, BS. And it really honks me off when people, you're trying to help somebody who is in deep doo-doo. They're going to step in it, and they're going to step in it pretty bad, and it affects you, and they won't listen. And they just took it as I'm just, a guy just trying to, I don't know, just be a pain in the butt, which I usually am not. I mean, I will see things, and I'm that kind of guy that, I'm too busy with what I got going on to get involved in everybody's issues. I usually don't get involved in drama. I don't get involved in other people's issues. I don't get involved in things that are going on that, I don't watch the news for that reason. I mean, at night, I might watch, a little bit of international news. I might watch some C-SPAN. I'll watch maybe a little bit if something's interesting, but I'm not going to sit there and watch the news, listen to the news, allow all that negative stuff that's going around that I can't do a whole lot about influence me. So when something honks me off, you better know that it was probably serious. Some of you may think this is a non-event. You're used to it. I mentioned it in a couple of groups, and some people are like, just ignore it, walk away, deal with your own business, don't do anything about it. But I'm going to talk to you about that. But before I do, I want to thank some people. I want to thank Patty Witten of Witten Control in San Antonio. She's owner and managing partner. Actually, Patty, I think you run the show there, to be honest, in San Antonio, Texas. And also, I want to thank Rose Pest Solutions at Rose Pest. Proudly provides pest control service to 6 states, including Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and Western Pennsylvania. I mean, you guys are spread all along the Midwest and entering into the East Coast. And then it said, and I just couldn't read past the 3 dots, so I stopped. But thank you. Thank you for following us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for, whatever it is that you're doing with us and for us. We really, really do thank you. On Twitter, following us. Remember I talked to you last week about a product that I thought was pretty cool. This was Biopren BFS 6EC for bed bugs and fleas. And this is out of Europe. This is a product in Europe that has 4 products in it. It has methoprene, which is an IGR. It has pyrethrins. It has piperonyl butoxide, which is a PBO, which is a synergist. And it also has MGK 264, which is also a synergist. So 1 pyrethrin, 1 IGR, and 2 synergists for this product. I thought it was interesting that it had 2 synergens in it. So I did some research to see if we have anything close to this in the U.S. And what I found was there's a product that's made for the dogs called the Hearts Ultra Guard. It's under hugprofessionals.com. I got a link to it so you can check it out. It actually has these products in it, but it's made only for the dog, not in a spray. Closest thing I could find, I was at the conference and I looked at the bottle and I said, hey, this is something I've been meaning to use. I haven't used it because I've used their other product. And, that other product is on the way out, and this is what's going to replace it. But it's the Precore 2625. Now, Precore 2625 has 2 pyrethroids, a pyrethrin, an IGR, and the PBO, the synergist. And what synergists do, they don't, by themselves, they don't kill the insect. What they do is they heighten the effect of the either the neonic that you're using, the pyrethrin, or the pyrethroid effect on the insect. And they all have different modes, but this is the closest thing I found, which was etofenprox, which is a synthetic pyrethroid, and then tetramethrin, which is a synthetic pyrethroid. Then it has pyrethrins, which is pyrethrin, and then it has pipernobutoxide and S-methoprene. So the 2625 from Precore is the closest thing I found to that relative, lost in Europe. And Precore, the 2000, it's on its way out because it includes permethrin. And from what I understand, the EPA doesn't want you spraying permethrin inside. So look for your labels to change on permethrin, most possibly. You probably got a year or two before those products start going out of the market. We're losing products, guys. I'm telling you, you're not listening. We're losing products, and permethrin is probably not going to be allowed to be applied indoor anymore, only for outdoor spraying. And, who knows? It's a 50-year-old product. It might be out of the market in the next 10 years. But that is the closest thing I found to something like that had, an IGR, a synergist, and a pyrethrin, and it turns out this one has 2 pyrethroids in it. We love our pyrethroids here in America. So you guys overseas, you need to get with it, because you're trying to get rid of all of our pyrethroids. And we've got about, 29 pyrethroids in that class. I think it was 28, 29 in a class 3 pyrethroid. So, a lot of people think that they're rotating products. They're not rotating products. They're rotating the same pyrethroid all over the place and thinking they're changing out their products. And go ahead and listen to that interview that I did. Now, forgive me for the microphone, but I didn't take an extra mic, and I had just the one that was on the unit, and I've never used this unit without the external microphones. It has an internal mic, which turned out to be a really loud and phenomenal mic. I thought it wasn't going to be that good, and I end up clipping a lot of the audio on my part, and then I was separating it, from their mouth, because I had a little meter that is a strength meter, and it lets me know where it's recording and the strength and all that. And in one of those cases, I didn't actually hit the recorder twice, because it lets you hit the record button once, look at your signal strength, and then hit record again when you're ready to record. And the guys, I'm giving them the interview, and I'm asking them all kinds of questions. And it turns out that, no, it wasn't recording, and we had to start all over again. And it didn't happen once. It happened twice. So shame on me, but forgive the clipping in the audio. Just take a listen to the interview I did. Darn thing was not recording.
The whole time?
No, the whole time. What an idiot. I'm sorry about that. All right, so
can you remember all this?
Yeah. Okay, I'm here with I'm at Expo, and I'm at Pump Tech, and I'm over here with Steve Badcock of Pump Tech. He's going to tell us about these pumps. Now, these are not your gas pumps. That these are 12-volt pumps?
Yep, 12-volt DC pumps.
Okay, these are massive pumps, by the way. Yeah. So they don't look like your little cheap, 12-volt pump that you probably get, with, your little sprayer. This is like massive for a massive rig type of situation.
Yeah. So we do have some, like our smallest that we sell in this industry is about 1 GPM. We also have a 2.5 GPM version. And then we have our new series, which goes up to 6.4 GPM. We actually we can configure it for just over 3 GPM, just over 4, 5, or 6. And what you get, when you go to 6.4 GPM, you're capped at about 90 or 100 PSI with this system. But if you were to reduce the flow rate down a little bit, you could then increase your pressure.
All right, for GPM, for guys that don't know, it's gallons per minute?
Yeah, so GPM is gallons per minute. So at the end of the gun, this pump would fill up a 6.4 gallon tank in 1 minute. So it would pump that much water in 1 minute.
In 1 minute.
And it's capable to overcome 100 PSI. So whatever is going through this pump is going to end up at your spray tip. So,
gotcha.
Unless you have a regulator that's bleeding some off or something like that, everything's going to go out to the end.
Okay, and what kind of pest control applications do you guys currently use then?
Well, currently we're only used in the smaller flow rate, 2 GPMs, the applications that would only require that. But now we're able to do 4 or 6 GPM, so we're planning to get into that, lawn and also into termite and some of those different.
Flow.
Yeah, so it's the higher flow applications.
Okay, and just an idea, do you have pricing on these? Like what's the range?
Well, I'm in engineering, so I don't know all the prices.
Okay, so you're a geek.
I am.
So you're in good company.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of pest geeks that listen to us.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, it is more expensive than some of the SureFlows and the traditional 12-volt pumps out there, but it's less expensive than the gas stuff. So it's kind of in between.
Kind of in between. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
and so, some of the things, though, when you can compete with the gas-powered stuff, but you don't have to buy the gasoline. You don't have to maintain the motor and change the oil and all of the noise that happens with the gas engine.
Right, so noise pollution is important because a lot of people want it to become in different communities, and that's important.
So this makes some noise, but it's not anywhere near as noisy as a
gas motor running. Motor. Yeah. So all right, cool, awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, and so termite, GHP. What's? Because I'm seeing the design of this pump. What type of piston or
it's
pump
a plunger
design?
It's a plunger pump.
It's a plunger pump. Okay.
Yeah, and now most of our pumps, the smaller flow rates are stainless steel plungers, but our new pump, the X series, all the different sizes in the X series are ceramic. So I can take its head off, and it has a ceramic plunger with carbon fiber Teflon seals.
So for like ag applications, agriculture where herbicides are being applied and it's not an issue? No, with this type of product?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, man. It looks like a really impressive, it reminds me of some type of engine that can be designed, and this stuff is like really cool. I'm going to get some pictures of this and put it on the blog because it's really nice stuff that you guys got here.
Yeah, the pump. Well, these pumps are all made in USA. They're anodized, hard-coat anodized aluminum bodies with ceramic tip plungers and stainless steel valves.
Awesome.
So designed to be corrosion-free and have years and years of service.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
I wanted to go over another cool, this is a cheat sheet that was produced by Winfield. And I think it's a marvelous cheat. I've been talking about this constantly. And I'm glad somebody did something because somebody has taken this very seriously in the marketplace. And it is the effect of water on pesticide efficacy. A lot of the times you think the pesticide doesn't work right. The pesticide isn't working right. And you're not checking your water. pH in the water will destroy a product faster than probably anything you have around you. And it gives you every single fungicide, every single herbicide, every single insecticide, active ingredient on the market. It tells you where it behaves worse when the alkaline is between 8 and 9, between 7 neutral, and then 4 to 6 in acid. And how many of these products, when it's 2 acid, it breaks down, and when it's 2 alkaline, it breaks down. And it gives you the optimum pH. I got a link to it. You can download it from Winfield. Right on the podcast notes, just go to www.pestgeekpodcast.com. And when you open up the show notes, it's going to be there for you to download and link. I'm also going to try to put a link over on the member side so that it'll have its own page, and that way you can easily do a search engine in the browser that we have, the search that we have inside the website, and you can easily find it with our keywords that we're gonna put in there. What else? All right, a book. I got this book at the show. It was given to us free by Kemp Anderson, Level the Field by Kemp Anderson. Basically, it's a book on how to evaluate and decide if your business is right for selling, if you've got the right market, the right timing. Very, very good book. And surprisingly, I thought the conference by Kemp was going to be all about how to resell your business, how to sell it in this marketplace. And surprisingly enough, it wasn't about all that. I mean, he only talked about that in the last couple of minutes of the conference. But understanding the marketplace, understanding company valuation, understand how that's done, understanding how these companies that are going to try to buy you are going to value you, and some things about franchising. And it was really informative, really liked it. I'm trying to see if I can get him on the podcast to discuss this, because this guy has more experience in this than anybody I know. I mean, the guy sold franchises for one of the largest, franchise and pest control company on the planet, and he sold for a couple, and now he helps people sell their business. So if you want to value, you want to know what your company's worth, you want to know where it should be, this guy is a great tool. To get the book, check it out, look it up. It's called, I'm going to have a link to it. It's called Level the Field by Kemp Anderson. Great book. So with that being said, we're going to discuss, what went on in FPMA Expo. And I got to tell you that I got my first Uber ride. I never been on Uber. I have no reason to be on Uber. Miami's public transportation sucks. The worst infrastructure on public transportation I've ever seen in my life. So I've had a vehicle all my life, and I've taken a couple of taxis in my life, and I was really disappointed. I'm disappointed about the taxi drivers here in Miami because they think they own everything. They don't respect your space and lane. They'll just get in front of you because they need to cross over 4 lanes of traffic because the guy not from here and he doesn't know how to drive in Miami. So those are a couple of things that actually piss me off about living in Miami. But this one, I had 3 different experiences with Uber. And by the way, the app for ordering the ride works wonderfully. My wife, we were like, what are we going to do? We took our in-laws and my son and stepdaughter, and we were going to... I left them the car because I said, you guys are going to have to go to the parks and take the kids and the bags and everything. Just take the car. We're going to take the Uber because we're only a mile from the hotel where the convention was. And so I said, it's only a 5-minute, we can walk there if we had to. And it's only a couple minute drive. So we ordered the Uber. My wife said, let's do the Uber thing. And I said, yeah, let's do it. I've never done it. And we wanted to see what it was like. And, she gets on there, and on the first shot, there was a guy that was supposed to come. They sent us a picture of who the guy is and, what kind of car he drives. And a minute later, oh, no, it's been a change in driver. Sorry, we're going to send you a new driver. But, overall, from the time that we ordered it to the time it got there was like 5 or 6 minutes. It was like really, really freaking fast. Compared to a taxi that you order here in Miami, 45 minutes for a cab from the time that you call to the time they dispatch it to the time that they get it to your house. And then he takes the longest way there, and you're paying more than you really have to. We paid like $5 a trip to get there really quickly because it was kind of raining and we didn't want to be out in the rain. And the first guy we talked to, he was just gotten here from Miami. He was an event promoter at clubs, and he was doing this during the day and to get some extra money, and he works mainly at night in clubs and things like that, promoting events. So we had a nice conversation with him. He had a rough time when he was here and being in Miami, so he went up to Orlando, and we had the whole conversation thing. And what really sucked was the app. The app for the driver is not that great. This guy was like, it's telling me to go through this here, and I know I can get to that hotel from here, but it's telling me to go this way. It took me 3 turns to get it right to get to your hotel. So they're paying this guy, they take about 45% of what they earn, and the trip was like $5. So he was making like $3.50 to drive 2 miles for 15 minutes. Now, not bad, for a 10-minute drive, but they had him going all over the place. And then he decided, I'm just going to use the app for, the Google app for finding the maps, and it took him a different way, which was much faster. Then the second guy that we ordered from didn't talk at all. This guy got in the car. I know where you're going. You're going to this hotel? Yes. And he drove the whole way over there. He had a rap station on, mixed with some reggaeton, which I can't stand. And that's the stage. He didn't talk to us the whole trip. Didn't ask us anything what we're doing. So we're like, we just talked to each other, me and my wife, and looking at each other like, this guy's really, he's got one of the older vehicles. It's not a really new vehicle. Overall, great experience. I tipped all these guys separately, by the way. And then the third guy had gotten here also from Venezuela, and he was in Orlando, and he was, we started talking. Hey, what are you doing? How'd you get here? And all this, because I talked to everybody. And the guy says, no, I came here. I was an engineer, a civil engineer in there. I used to work in the oil pipelines. And what happened was that I graduated from University of Florida as an engineer, and then he went to go live in Venezuela, and then was an engineer there, and he had to come back now 20 years later because he was working for an oil company, and the oil company was doing some illegal stuff, and he was a manager, and they wanted him to sign off on some of the stuff he was doing, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't sign off on it. And they basically threatened his family, and this whole ordeal. He had to get his whole family out. Luckily, he still had his papers from the U.S. because he had studied here and he had a Social Security number and everything, and he was able to bring them over. And he's doing this full time right now, driving an Uber car, making his living, going from an engineer in his country to being an Uber driver here. But really cool guy. We talked, and he got us to Epcot, and from there we went to Epcot and things like, because we were into the conference during the day, got it at about 3 to 5, and then headed over to the parks to enjoy some time with the family. And then on Sunday we went ahead and we just there wasn't an event on Sunday. There was nothing going on at the conference. I mean, there was, but we weren't interested in it. And we said, no, we're just going to spend the whole day at the Magic Kingdom, because my son is 2.5. He's going to be 3. And he just started getting to the age where he finds all this really exciting. He doesn't find it petrifying anymore. Like when, a 7-foot mouse comes up to you, you run. If you're a little kid and you're 2.5 feet tall, he actually ran towards him and gave him a hug, which was really exciting. So I got to enjoy that. We don't get to take many vacations, and enjoyed that with the family. But the Uber app for the end user worked great. For the driver, it's not working so great. Guys at Uber, please help those guys out, because they're getting paid $3 for a trip, and it's costing them $5 to get there in their own vehicle. And I operate a fleet, so I understand what vehicle costs to run on the street. So I was feeling really bad for these guys. I'm like, here, bro, here's a tip, that makes up for, the mess up that they put you in. I, give them $5. One other guy I gave $3, and the other guy that took us to Epcot, I gave him like $10 tip. Because, I felt bad for the guy because he's working his butt off and making $3 on a trip. So on the long trips, like they have different levels. He was explaining they had different levels, and they only take about 20% on those bigger ones. But on the really small ones, they take about 40% of the upfront on there. But overall, Uber experience was really good. And things that really honked me off. What happened last week. I'm at my favorite breakfast spot that we go to eat. This is a gas station. Now, I know you're thinking a gas station. This is a really upscale gas station. And I love this place because the people there are friendly. They're really lovable people that remember what you order. And once you walk up to the line, they're like, you want the usual? And they already know exactly what it is, how you order it. And they give you the same thing, whatever you ordered. And, the service is great. The place is really clean. It's a really more of an upscale gas station than you would think. It has a full restaurant, and then it's got a full sandwich shop in it. And I walk in, and then I walk by and I see a technician walk in. And the technician, he's probably about my height, about 5'10", maybe a little bit taller. And he weighs somewhere around, 300 pounds. And he walks in and he's got his, bait gun, and he's got another product. I think it's Max Force, one of the Bayer products for that comes in a tube, and I think it's probably Quantum, what it looked like, but I couldn't really see it. But by the tube sticking out, I think it was. He walks into the restaurant. He says, "Oh, he's getting ready to do an inspection." They probably called him because there's a problem. Guy walks in the back. 2 minutes, just walks around, doesn't get under anything, doesn't pull out. I'm watching him the whole time because he caught my eye, and I'm observing. I guess when you're in the industry and you're in a business, you kind of notice all these things. So he walks out, walks back in a minute later with his B&G. He proceeds to go into the kitchen with the B&G, and he sits there where there's a sink in the back that I can see. I mean, this is an open kitchen. This is an open floor layout. You can see everything that's going on in that kitchen. And he puts his B&G inside the sink that you're supposed to wash your hands in if you're one of the employees. This is one of the sinks for the employees, a little tiny sink to wash their hands in. Now, if there's one thing inspectors are a pain in the butt about, is that sink. Because inspectors say you have to have hot water. You got to have soap. You got to have something to dry your hands with. And they're really particular about this sink. He's filling this B&G up in that sink. All the while, he's sitting there texting. Okay? See, this is the stuff that you guys got to think about, and your people have to think about when you're out in the field, that everybody's watching you these days. So I tell my wife, I said, I can't believe this guy's doing that. Take a picture and a video of that, will you? And she goes up to the counter, starts taking video. He pumps up the B&G and proceeds to spray that back kitchen where the sink was, where the stainless steel shelves are. And I'm looking at it. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. The problem is, there is food all over those counters, exposed hot food. The fryer, I'm sorry, not the fryer, but the grill is a flat grill, and it's right there in front of him, and he's spraying around it. And I'm thinking, this guy is insane. It's in the middle of the day, full operation restaurant, and this guy is spraying the kitchen. I mean, if he was doing a crack and crevice, or he got under with a flashlight, and he took a little bit of bait or something and he put it because he found something, and they called him in the middle of the day and told him, you need to do something because we have this kitchen full of bugs and, whatever. I would say, he tried his hardest to serve the customer, inspected everything, and then just spot treated. No, he's spraying this entire area with the B&G. So I take a video. My wife, the manager comes up and gets in front of her and says, what are you doing? And, she's like, oh, no. She's trying, and she realizes she's recording the guy and recording the kitchen. And she stops because, she's afraid. I would have just kept recording. I could care less. And so I see this guy do this, and then he just leaves, sprays that entire area, which was probably like across the whole thing was probably maybe 5 or 6 feet. But all the food is exposed. Now, some people have no problem with this. But every single label that in food service, I can't find one to save my life. If you know of one, send me a label of something you can spray in a food service that doesn't require you to have the food covered or put away or the restaurant not be in operation. I can't find it to save my life. So the thing says, well, you don't know if what he was spraying. I said, whatever it was, chances are, you can't do it with Demon. You can't do it with Bifentrin. You can't do it with Telstar. You can't do it with an IGR because it's crack and crevice. No, he was spraying it. Baseboard spraying. Good old-fashioned baseboard jockey. I should have got him a saddle. He leaves. He doesn't do an exterior of that perimeter. I would have said, if he's doing the exterior, okay, there's nobody out there. Doesn't do the exterior. Doesn't check anything. That's all he did. This guy has... But if you can get this guy with his size and weight to squat under anything and do an inspection is a miracle. Why would a service manager put this guy on a route, tell him to go service a restaurant that he can't service in the middle of the day with a guy who can't, do the work. He can't squat down because if he gets down on his knees, he's not getting back up. And I'm not about to discriminate people because of their weight, but think about it. You put him on a residential route. You put him on an exterior-only route. You put him where he can carry a hose. You don't send him into a restaurant. This was from a large company, by the way. And I see that, and I'm horrified. I called the state to find out what I could do to report it, but then I said, this is going to escalate. A couple of people talked me out of it. This is going to escalate. I'm going to have to be the snitch. This guy's going to lose his job. Chances are it's his manager who told him to do it, because you don't get to do anything in that company and with the local management unless they order it. And this is not going to end well. So I let it go. Then I get to Orlando. We're having breakfast Sunday morning at a very popular breakfast spot. My mother-in-law is walking in. There's a person in the front counter folding kids' menus. And all of a sudden, a German roach flies out of there, alive, scurrying all over the place. The person starts to whack at it. My mother-in-law goes in, whack, and smacks it and kills it. It falls to the ground. Nobody says anything. The manager is in the back. I asked, they all sat down, and I asked to go see the manager. I talked to the manager. I said, look, Mr. Manager, I'm in town for a pest control conference. I'm a pest control operator. A roach just came out of where the reception area is. Now, for a roach to be there, that far away from the kitchen, you've got a serious problem. Her answer was, well, we have a spray company that comes and does our service. I said, well, they're not doing a very good job. You got a roach we just killed. It wasn't dead. We killed it. Didn't say anything to me. She proceeded to scold the employee for the way they reacted on scurrying that roach, instead of saying, you know what, next time just do this or that, take her to the back, get all those menus out of there, get that place clean, and say, we're going to call the company right now and have them come over here, whatever. And nobody says anything to us. We order our food, we pay for our food, we leave. No apology. No, well, geez. So what did I do? I tweeted about it. Because that's what you do these days when, customer service in the store doesn't really. So what does that tell you about the organization? That large organizations can't stay on top of a lot of things. And they trust their managers and their frontline people to do it. And they're at the point where they just don't care. And it seems to be, I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's Florida. I don't know if it's because of all the different cultures that are here. This is a melting pot that people bring their culture with them, and they expect that because they brought their culture and they came into this country, the land of opportunity, that somehow they can do whatever they want or they did in their own country. I don't know what it is. I'm just honked off about it. And, I grew up here in Miami, and then I left and I got to experience customer service at a whole new level living in the Midwest. And then I come back over here, and it's, what do you mean you don't like your sandwich? That's the way it's made. Take it or leave it. That's the attitude. So that was my experience this whole week with two really bad service. I went back the next day to that other gas station, and I actually spoke to the manager. And she pissed me off more than the tech did, because she was like, oh, they've been doing that for 10 years for us. And, that's the way they've always done it. And we don't know anything about it. And I'm telling you, lady, he just violated federal law by doing what he did. And she's like, well, we're going to talk to them about it. Okay. Non-committal. We don't care pretty much about what you have. Don't eat here anymore if you don't want to. That seems to be the attitude. That's what pissed me off. Anyway, I got home and two giant bed bugs are in my bed. Well, these were courtesy of Protect the Bed. Cute little buggers. One's green and one's purple. And they have a little thing on them, Protect the Bed label, and they're really, really cute little fellas. I posted them on the cemetery. So if you're on the cemetery, look out for these. My kids went nuts over these. Thought they were pretty cool. So yeah, I asked Daniel Dye III to ID them for me. He was unable to. So, he doesn't know everything. But that guy's darn smart though. So if you ever, if you post a picture of what is this, he knows and he knows the scientific name. So that's really, really impressive. So thank you, Daniel, for all you do in the cemetery for free, IDing pests for us. All right. So now if you've never gone to a pest management conference, different than just a CEU place to get a couple of CEUs. But the pest management conference is a place where you go to learn everything about the pest control business, all the business aspects, accounting, credit card processing. Most of it, guys, it is a sales pitch. I mean, you're getting pitched whether you know it or not, subliminally. But it's very good info. And the speakers, this year that I took all the business classes because, I'm a business major, I'm a business owner, and I know everything already there is to know about pest control. I'm just kidding. But I wanted to take all the classes. I did take all of them except one, which was video advertising and production. And the reason I didn't take that class is my wife took it. I was standing outside with the guy from SEO marketing, and he gave me an hour of his time. We were having a conversation that was very, very stimulating. His name is Bruce Jordan of Mailtropolis. Bruce, really thank you, because you invested so much time in me in confirming what I'm doing, the things I'm doing, correcting the things I'm doing, and it really, really helped me out. So, man, I really do appreciate the time that you spent with me. His boss was there, and he didn't say anything, Bob Heed. These guys gave a great presentation together. Really, 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 really cool. And the other one that I enjoyed tremendously was branding and marketing. Tim Holcomb of T Creative. And this guy probably gave one of the clearest, most best definition of what branding is. And branding is not marketing. Branding is not advertising. Branding is not SEO. Branding is not advertising. It's not sales. It's not even your logo. Branding is, here's his definition. What do people feel when they think about your brand? It is the feeling people get about your brand. And if people don't have a feeling one way or the other about your brand's ineffective. But I'm going to try to bring him on board to have this conversation because it was fascinating. I think it was also another great class. Man, Eric Schulman of Sandler Training gave a fantastic class on sales. And he validated for me what I've been feeling for the last 30 years in sales about how sales is, you shouldn't be a salesman. And he would have to explain it better than I can, but it's a whole process, and they have a whole process of sales and sales training that I thought was fascinating. So thank you for that. I want to thank all the people at University of Florida, including Phil Kohler and all his staff. I didn't get to see Robert Pereira there because I've talked to him before. And but these students, these were all PhD and master students, and they were giving demonstrations of certain experiments they were running, and how these experiments, with different products and different things. And I'm going to have a lot of them on because I talked to Phil about this, about bringing his people on, because here's why. A lot of the time we think that these students at these universities are wasting their time with useless tests and things, and they're not in the field, and they're not out there with us in the trenches. And some of the work they are doing is the stuff that we should be doing in the field, but we don't. And when they publish these, it's like, oh, there's a quarter drop. So I thought it was fabulous about taking a product that is a pyrethroid and mixing it with silica gel dust and seeing if it gets better kill than without it. And doing these kind of tests in the field, and they found out it does. So I thought that was great. So all these classes, they also had CEUs for fume, for lawn and ornamental. They had it for core and GHP. There was a mergers and acquisition panel. I didn't get to go to that because I was one in the CEU classes. I needed to take all my CEUs for the year. I thought I just might as well get that overdone. And on the panel, managing your human assets, great class by a lawyer on all the new laws on payroll and paying your employees. Guys, big problems ahead for those guys that are just paying, they're compensating people on production and sales. We're in for a rude awakening. That's going to have to change in the industry, whether people like it or not. The government will make you change it. And if not, when an employee quits, he can bring a lawsuit against you for wages owed to him. And it's a whole nightmare. And I think it's well worth, you would have taken that class if you were there. So those have been all the pros for this conference. Some of the things that I thought were really bad was the first lunch. first lunch was, look, it was a half a sandwich that felt like a quarter sandwich that was, on a French plate, got lost. By the way, the cookies, the chocolate chip cookies, that was right there. That was almost worth the price of admission, those chocolate chip cookies that they had at lunchtime. The second lunch the next day was way better. They actually gave you a full sandwich. They also had fruit, and they also had 2 salads. Coleslaw wasn't that great. I mean, I've had good coleslaw. Wasn't that great. So, whoever's putting together the menus, have them taste the food to see if it's up to standards of us pest control professionals. Other than that, it was, the lunch was good. Had a good couple conversations with a couple people that came there and where they were from and what they did and all the things that they were doing. And, because I got a conversation out of a 2x4 in the wall. And I almost did. But I thought it was great. Who is this conference for? Well, here's the 4 attributes of this conference that if you've never been, if you are new to pest control, okay, and you want to get up to speed of what's happening in the industry, or you were thinking of getting into pest control, highly recommend the conference to go to and take all the business courses and everything that you could. Go with your wife, go with a friend, record the classes, compare notes, have one person take, because there are classes that overlap that you're going to want to take that weren't chronological. I would have wished I could have taken all of the classes, because I would have, but the time constraints, and the classes were given in one hall, and then another on 2 of those we split up, me and my wife, and I said record the class so then I can listen to it later. I'm going to go to this one because this one requires for me to get a CEU, and I'm going to get my CEUs. That way they're out of the way for the year. So that was great. Things that if you have never been to a pest control conference, you need to go. I mean, it's a once in a lifetime experience that everyone should go. If you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or you started in the pest control business, you really need to go. If you are you've been in the pest control business for several years and you're not getting any answers from anybody, you don't know what it's really like, you need to go. What I figured, sometimes I get tunnel vision. And I'm thinking, I'm here in Miami. Things are really tough because Miami is really tough. Miami is so cutthroat that it feels like you got cut with a 5 razor blade and then you needed to go in for a transfusion every time you cut a deal. That's how cutthroat it is. Very, very price sensitive. You have 400 companies you're competing with, literally 400 companies plus. I think we're at 422 the last time I checked. 1,700 techs out in the field in Miami-Dade County. Very cutthroat, the business. And, most people are never going to price it out beyond 2 to 3. So if you call 2 to 3 companies and they too got this low price and they're about the same, and then here you come in and you're the highest guy in the market, you got to really fight for what you believe. And we have to fight for every little penny we get, because people think that, pest control is a commodity. Anybody can do it. Why are you charging so much? And everybody here is lowballing. And then what I found out is going to Orlando is that they're going through the same thing over there. And people who are in Ocala, big companies are coming into Ocala now, and they're struggling with the price problem. So it's pretty much everywhere. And I tend to get tunnel vision and think I'm the only one going through something. And it opens up my eyes to see that valuations of companies are about the same. As far, no matter where you are, just the valuation changes based on the type of company you run. Fleet costs are pretty much the same everywhere. So really it has to do with some variables on, what it costs to operate certain things in your marketplace. But prices across the board are pretty much fluctuating all over the freaking place, no matter where you are. So to try to find out and say, well, I'm at the top of my market, you might be. And then you come here and it's like, oh my goodness, I'd never do business there, kind of deal. So, it's great to open up your eyes to what's really going on. A lot of what's going on in the industry, a lot of what you're going to hear on this podcast, you will not hear anywhere coming from the industry. You're not going to get it from the magazines. You're not going to get it from the distributors. You're not going to, this is insider stuff that people tell me behind the scenes, and I won't divulge who told me, and I talk about it here because this is what this podcast is all about. It's about understanding the pest control business, how to officially run it, how to get the best training you can on the market, and really excel at what you do. Things that I didn't like, all right, about the conference. I was disappointed. The fact that my distributor down here in Miami never promoted it. Yeah, you could have gotten some people from down here to go. I didn't find it anywhere in any of the information other than in the pest control magazine that I got from Florida Pest Pro, which is put out by the University of Florida. That's how I found out about it. If I wouldn't have gotten that magazine, I wouldn't have known. Promotion on it was really bad. None of my distributors ever called me and said, hey, are you going to Expo? When I talk to a ton of people. If you listen to this podcast, you know that people know me. The promotion on it wasn't that great. Didn't hear about it. Didn't get emails from anybody about it. You had a room prepared for 100 something people, and there's 20 people there. So it wasn't packed. It cost you way over $1,000 a person to attend this conference. When you factor in the cost of the ticket, which was very affordable, by the way, it was $150 for the 2 days per person. So $300. You put in hotel. We stayed at a very good hotel that was very low priced. I hunted for it and I found it. I think we spent about $75 a night. At the hotel, they were asking for $195 a night. I was 1 mile down the road. You factor in gas, food that you're going to spend while you're over there, and the lost production for those 2 to 3 days you're going to be, plus the travel, and you're at about $1,000 per person to go over there. So for the value, if I've never gone and I didn't know, my wife was blown away because she had never gone to a pest control conference before, and she's heard me for the last, what is it now, 5 years, talk about what I do, talk about how I'm doing it, talk about what I'm planning to do. And, she plays along and she tells me how great and wonderful I am and how smart I am, and how great of a husband I am and all those things that she tells me, which are true, by the way. But she's never been to a conference. She doesn't know the inside workings, really. So sometimes I guess she wonders, and every wife should wonder, does your husband know what the heck he's doing? Maybe we should go to a conference and find out. So she, all this time she's turning back at me, looking at me like, you nailed it. Everything you've talked about and everything, it's I'm hearing it here. So it's validation for you to know whether what you're doing is really, are your numbers right? Are your facts right? Are your figures right? What you do individually is not that much different than what everybody else does. It doesn't matter who's better. It just matters who's first. So you can be the best guy at doing this and be the only guy doing it, but if nobody knows about it and you're not out there in the marketplace and you're not first, it really doesn't matter. You're not going to grow your company. So those are the things that I think it was great validation for me. It's kind of like when I took I had been studying SEO and working in SEO, and then I went and took a 1-day course on SEO, and all it did was validate that what I was doing was correct. I spoke to the teacher afterwards, and basically what I'm doing so far is correct, and I'm on track. And a lot of the time is validation. You do get a lot of validation. It is worth it because you don't want to be so far off track thinking you're the last Coke in the desert that you're doing something nobody else is doing, and you really don't want to be that different. You want to be distinct, but you don't want to be unrecognizable, and that's my point. The conference wasn't packed. I think if you had 250 people there, it was too much. I don't know what their final numbers are. Probably could get them and ask them, and they probably wouldn't tell me because they didn't want to talk to me. So it's one of those things where it wasn't packed. I didn't get to see a lot of promotion on it. For such a big event in such an expensive hotel with all these amenities, you would have wanted at least 500 to 1,000 people there, and you could have gotten them in Florida. They're easy. They're here. Like I said, I got 400 in my county alone, and 300 in the following county, which is Broward, and I think 200 and something in West Palm. So in 3 counties, you easily got 1,000 companies that are here. Most of the people who I saw there were single-person operators working with their wives, and very few were actually big companies. I got to see the guys from Hewlett. They were pretty cool, and a couple of other people, some big shots that were there from a lot of the big companies. Got to speak to a couple of distributors behind the scenes. I got to interview a couple of them, which we're going to be previewing here on the show. And, they weren't excited. The distributors were not excited that were there, that I talked to, and I didn't talk to everybody. Some of the ones that I did talk to saying, look, I spent $700, I think it was $750 on the booth. At best, we got to talk to 12 people because there wasn't a whole lot of time to spend in the conference, in the room for distributors. Another thing I did not like the speed dating for all the CEUs. And this one I'm being real serious about, because I think these guys prepare themselves to give presentations, to talk to you about their product. If they're giving away free knowledge, they have a right to talk about their product. I didn't see that from any of the distributors, the manufacturers. They did is they put like 5 distributors in a room. They gave them a table and some chairs, and basically they rotated you around the room, like in a carousel, and now it's time to switch. You got 1 minute, switch, and this distributor gets to talk to you about disease, and this one also gets to talk to you about granular formulation, and this one gets to talk to you about pumps. And they gave them like 15 minutes each, and they were rushed, and they we couldn't talk to them afterwards, and we couldn't stop in the middle of the conference, ask a question, because we would take too much time. And I just thought that the CEUs, I got them, and the CEU class, I took it. Did I get anything out of it? Not really. I figured out one of them was still telling me to use Orthane in restaurants. I just thought it was badly done. It was tacky. I thought, you should have either one good speaker talk about a lot of good things, or multiple speakers talk and allowed to ask questions, take a little bit more time, like we did in the other classes. There was great interaction, where we got involved. That was my take on it. That's my take on the FPMA Expo. There's another event coming up. It's called FPMA in Paradise, June 12th through the 15th. Hawks Cay Resort, Duck Key, Florida. And I don't have any info on that yet. Will I be going to that one? No, I won't. We got a good fix with this one. We got a lot of info. We got a lot of things that we're going to proceed with. Other things we're going to put on hold for a while because we got some validation that maybe we should, at least I did. I'm going to sit down and discuss it with my wife and have a conference and, find out direction we want to go. I already had kind of the direction we want to go. We just got to shift it a little bit this year and to get on a better track. And I think that's important. But guys, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, for being a part of the podcast, for messaging me on Instant Messenger, sending me all the things you guys send me, all the encouraging messages. Even the ones that aren't so encouraging, I enjoy those too because it sharpens me and makes me think. A good teacher should always make you think more than give you the right answers. I did get that experience from a couple of these guys at Expo. They made me think really hard about where I'm going, what I'm doing, and overall it was a positive experience. I really did enjoy it. So I look forward to probably doing this again. And I hope they don't bring it this far down. In Miami-Dade, nobody really cares about anything, by the way. So very hard even for the local. I mean, and this is not on them, I think, sometimes, but even the local chapters, the local sessions happening here there's nobody participating. Miami is one of those weird towns. People don't want to participate. They're too busy. They're running at 100 miles an hour. It's a 24/7 town. It's almost like New York, just not that The New York minute, it's a little slower in Miami. And it's just the way it is. It's where we live. It's the way it is. You're used to it. You're used to the rudeness. You're used to people not having any time. You're used to everybody hurrying around. That's the way it is. And if you live in Mayberry, somewhere in the U.S., and the owner of the house still gives you the keys to the house so you can go in and do his pest control when he's not there, different market. It's not going to happen here. What else did I want to talk about that I probably forgot because I was doing some I had to print my notes out on paper. Oh, yeah. Screwworm. How we're getting screwed in Florida. The new screwworm is here. Well, it's actually not new. It's actually kind of old, and they thought it was eradicated. And now we've got a screwworm in the Keys affecting deer and horses and pets. Mainly, the way this works is the fly, the maggot, gets introduced into the host by a wound. So if the antler gets hurt and the deer gets hurt or it gets cut or anything, the flies are moving in and causing some real damage, killing these animals. It also can affect dogs and horses. There's a quarantine, so anything coming in or out of the Keys is getting searched. So if you're going to the Florida Keys, know that. Any food or anything you bring in or out, it's getting searched. And also, if you find an animal with screwworm, you got to report it. That's the major news that we got from screwworm in Monroe County, Florida. I got a link to this, by the way, a poster of what the screwworm looks like in the flesh, what the fly looks like. It can get confused with a bottle fly or a house fly for people who don't, an untrained eye. And the screwworm can look like other things, especially in the gum of the animal, in the womb. It can get inside the gum where the teeth is and screw down into there. And, how they got it contained right now, they believe. But, we have horse country that's really close to us here in the Kendall area. And, also down in Broward, there's horse country. So it is a concern. It is a concern with the animals, people that own the animals, to get protected and figure out what they're going to do about this. But supposedly it's under control. What else? I know I had something else. I know I have something that just slipped my mind. And I'm looking around at all my notes because I have all this paper because for some reason my Dropbox, I usually do it on Word and then stick it into Dropbox, and then I have my Upheads display, which is my iPad in front of me, and then I can look at all my notes as I'm talking. And I don't have those today. I'm working on paper, which I don't like printing out on paper. Where did people come from? People came from mostly the northern central part of Florida. They were here from Tampa, Orlando. Some came from Ocala. Some people came from Fort Myers area, mostly that area really close to there that you could drive there within about 2 hours. What I continue to tell the Florida Pest Management Association and the National Pest Management Association is you spend an awful lot of money to promote this event, to get people there. You get about 250 people, half the rooms are empty, and you don't record this and put it on audio so somebody can buy it for $30-$40 and participate, contribute something, get the information. These vendors that go there, they spend their hard-earned money, their time, their talent to teach us, and they deserve to get as much exposure as possible. As a marketer, I know that is one of my concerns when I do things is, am I going to get the exposure, my ROI for coming here, spending a day teaching these people something for free and not getting paid and being an instructor, what's in it for me? And that's a valid question. That's not being self-centered. As a marketer, you need to look at that. And that's why I'm giving the opportunity to anyone who is listening to the podcast, who I spoke with in private. I got a lot of confirmations they'll be on here, but, I get more people to listen to this podcast on a daily basis than you will get in 10 of those conferences. So you need to really get out there, put the information out. I've already been, and I looked at a couple of conferences that are doing this. They're really getting more people into their conferences, the physical conference, by putting out the conference on audio and video, because people are seeing and says, next year I want to be there. So get out of this old school. One of the reasons why I enjoy working with millennials and Gen Xers, mostly millennials. I really enjoy it because I can see their new vision for things, and I can see their zeal and the things that they want to accomplish. And the old guard sometimes just stands in the way, and I've seen it where people want to do new things. Teleconferencing and doing a teleconference. I'm dating myself to back a couple of decades. But with the technology we have today with GoToMeeting and all this, you can have a lot of this stuff done with a bunch of peoples and have a meeting that encourages people to join, contribute, participate, and not just simply sit there and say, okay, I'm going to hear what you have to say because I got to listen to your lecture for 2 hours. I think there is that new school that wants the information available to them when they want it and not when you want to give it. And at a much less cost of us having to travel there, I could have listened easily to every single one of those classes and not missed any of them in my own time, and I would have paid for it. I really would have. I would have paid a couple $100. I would have paid easily $300 to get all the info that I got at the conference by listening to it on audio. So you have an opportunity to do it, and why you don't do it, it's beyond me. I don't know if it's a legal thing where you got to pay royalties and you don't want to do it, where people don't want their voice recorded. Hey, I talked to a lot of people that didn't want their voice recorded. They didn't want it. They were like petrified of speaking into a microphone. But you're talking, tell me the same thing into the mic that you just told me, and promote your product or your brand or whatever you want to my podcast for free, because I have several thousand listeners a month. And you can get something out of it, and my people get something out of it, and everything works together for good. And they were like, no, you need to talk to my VP of sales. I actually got one engineer. I suckered him into talking to me. He says, no, but I'm an engineer. You need to talk to the sales. No, you're the guy I want to talk to. You guy that made the darn thing. You're the guy I want to talk to. I don't want to talk to a salesperson. I want to talk to you. So I got him to talk to me about their product, and really cool guy. And he did a really great job explaining his product. So I think, guys, that we can learn something from everybody. I learned a lot. Was disappointed in a couple things, and I was really glad that my family got to go and see Disney and see the mouse. And hey, guys, I ran out of time, but thank you, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.